O ka nuku nuku, ka neke neke. Ka nuku nuku, ka neke neke. Titiro ki ngā tai o toke rau e hōrani. Me he pipi wharauroa, takato te pai, takato te pai. Koe ara ngā kupu o te rangatira rā, ruatara, i tērā tau, te taenga mai o te hahi mihinari. Hoa no e te rangatira e te hira, raro rā i tērā hakaro, me tuku atu rā tēnei mihi ki a koe, mō wau nei karakia inoi atu rā ki te atua. Reira, e mihi ana ki a koe, ki a koutou hoki, te ahi kā, te mana whenua, koutou nā e tiaki ana tēnei wāhi a tāhua. Reira, e mihi ana ki a koutou. I thought this was a relevant kōrero to start off with. 1814, Marsden Cross out at Rangihaua. I'm not sure what's going on with this thing. But appropriate since we're here in this whare today. And also in relation to what was said, Luke, out of the Bible, on that day. Generally, Ruatara's referring to Marsden as the pipi wharauroa, the migrating bird that comes through the Pacific and arrives here for the summer. So this was done on Christmas in December, right? And he then goes through the verse, I bring you good tidings of great joy. Takoto te pai, takoto te pai. So that's the, I guess, the relevance of the kōrero. And here we are still, 2022. And hopefully I'm the pipi wharauroa today. Got my feathers on. Brought my feathers with me to bring you some good news. Rere mihi ana kia tātou katoa. So I gave a little bit of an intro. I guess you've read the pānui. So I know what you're all thinking. Is this Cliff Curtis? Was it that guy at the treaty grounds? Been sharing our perspective up home. I started over there in 2005. So, yeah, it's me, Ngāti Kawa Taituha. So thank you, Sam, and the organisers. Thank you for inviting me here today. I know there's a lot of people with titles here, you know, PhDs, etc. Yeah, and I'm not included in that list. I just grew up on the marae at home. And so, yeah, I come, I guess, from that perspective of growing up and listening to our kaumātua kuia. And, yeah, I'm part of the, I would call it the fiercest organisation within Ngāpuhi, and that's the Waitangi Marae. I think people might have a bit of an idea what I'm actually talking about there. A lot of things happen. But yeah, some of that stuff's rubbed off on me. So I'm here today to challenge you and to disrupt the mainstream, except what's just been presented. I actually support what's been said before me, but we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, I'm going to test you all out today. Oh yeah, and this is generally what I'm going to cover. Going to start off with the past, then bring us all into the present today, and the future, honouring Te Tiriti, 1840. So, start off with the past. the arrival of our Maori ancestors. I'm not going to go too much, into too much depth here, because you can do that homework when you in your own time. But I'll just give you wanted to start off there, just to give us some foundation. So, kupe claims paradise. So, what I'm trying to present here is use your imagination. That your kupe, you arrive here 1,000 years ago, or 1,000 years back, and you just imagine what you would be experiencing. So you've got a couple of things up there, rich resources, that's just a clue on where I'm going with this, and the biodiversity, the flora and fauna. So you arrive to this place, up home we've got plenty of kauri, but obviously things, there used to be more. But you just imagine that, those kauri, large, massive trees, dominating the landscape. And then, with the trees that we have here, then you got the birds. The Haast eagle, 6-metre wingspan, attacking a moa that's like, a few hundred kgs, just as big as a cow. And, so he's preying on the moa. And, just so much, the fisheries, the fish life, kaimoana, just so much abundance here. And, kind of can kind of look at it from a tourist perspective today. We've got the golden beaches, we've got the mountains or snow, geothermal activity, rainforests, we've got the tropical climate, we've got the cold. We've just about got, everything here. So just trying to plant that seed that our ancestors had a thriving society. And it's based on the wealth and abundance. And then we evolved into an advanced and sophisticated society, creating a brand new culture. So that's just the sort of trying to set the scene for this rest of this kōrero. Keep that all in mind from beginning to end, even right now, today, that we had abundance, we had access to lots of natural resources. And that's obviously, I just put these photos up of rangatira and the wealth that they possessed enabled them to achieve many things. And, so we become endowed with the spirituality. If you want to look into the Eo traditions, read Māori Marsden's book, The Woven Universe. It'll give you a really good sense of that tradition. The rituals, the ceremonies, the customs. We become obviously providers for families, protectors of families. We become artists, orators, storytellers, song and dance, creative arts, all sorts. It's all there. You can see it in our culture today. So it was well developed. And so, yeah, that's just a quick reference to the past, which helps us lead up into first encounters and interactions. Te mana o Ngāpuhi. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to touch on a couple of significant figures that had a lot of involvement in that whole era and actually were a massive influence, such as Te Pahi. Just mentioned that he was supposed to be the one hosting Samuel Marsden. However, he passed away. Ruatara came into play. But if you look into his endeavours, he was a traveller. So he went to Australia, with the penal colonies over there. And he was actually well respected by the governor. Actually got awarded the medal, Te Pahi's medal from the governor. And I always like to portray him as the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. That's pretty much what he did. And so he achieved a lot, and he came home. Hone Heke married his daughter, and so he was able to learn a lot from a great leader. And then obviously Hone Hika comes along. Hone Heke married his daughter as well, not at the same time. But Hone Hika, obviously, his big journey over to England in 1820 to meet the king, to attend Cambridge University, look into the naval base and access to technology. And so it was actually very forward-thinking. And in one of his meetings with the king, he actually sees all the poverty on the streets. And things weren't that flash. And he actually questions the king as to, I guess, why he's got a big castle and the people out on the streets are poor and have no food and are begging for support. And so the relevance of that kōrero is it's in the Declaration of Independence, where Hongi actually makes a commitment to look after all the king's people when they arrive here to our home. But that was a significant event. And then, I just touched on, actually I'll jump on to William Wilberforce, because a lot of things were happening while Hongi was over in England. So the abolishing of slavery, that was the bill that was put through by William Wilberforce and his team. And then from there, they're establishing the Humanitarians and the Church Missionary Society. And I kind of look, it's good looking retrospectively, because I sort of see their job when they get here to Aotearoa as the humanitarians, civilizing the heathens in Kororareka, which they once called the hellhole of the Pacific. And that came out in the kōrero this morning. And creating barriers for the capitalists, and such as the New Zealand company. So I see that as their job. One of their reasons for coming here, to support and protect us from things that were going on out in the world. And also see that big $20 million sign. This is actually part of Manuka Henari's kōrero, and Māori economics back in the 1830s. He's saying, you imagine 20 million in today's value. Well, Māori were doing that in 1830 in the Bay of Islands. So they were global businessmen and had lots of relationships all around the world. So that's just the lead up to 1835, or the adoption of our flag, Te Kara, which is another thing from the missionaries, Henry Williams. The kara over here. Oh, which side is it? Over here. Yeah, and then 1835, 1840. So we'll get to that. This is my tupuna, Te Kemara. Te Kawana high, up, 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 and Te Kemara down, low, small, a worm, a crawler. No, no, no. There's a little piece missing. He says that maybe if we were eye to eye, that may work. But it's a big maybe. Now, I make a lot of reference to Henry Williams. One, because he's in our whare tupuna on the wall. Is a popo, a carving. But I definitely regard him as the father of Te Tiriti, because these were his words that convinced our people to sign. And so this treaty was a fortress for them against any foreign power. And that still stands to this day. So I like that as sort of a metaphor. I like that using, what Maori would have been used to, that imagery of a pā, of safety, of being protected against any foreign power, but any threat to our people. And so that's, very clever of him to use that sort of language, because that's something that we can understand as, a military power ourselves. Very familiar with that sort of thinking. Anyway, so getting into the guts of the kaupapa today. English, ceding sovereignty, Maori granting governance. You can see what I've written up there, reconciling the treaty. You're probably wondering, what's that other part over there about? Before I came here, I went to a party. I was really excited about this presentation, so I was trying to fill them in. But yeah, I don't recommend talking about this at the party, at the bar, because look what happens. We're talking about the English and Maori version, and then my mate sort of makes to be honest, it was loud music, and it was 12 o'clock. And I was trying to listen really hard to what he was saying. And all I heard was two versions. I was talking about two versions, but he was talking about two virgins. And I'm going, what's happening here? Anyway, they dared me to say this today. So I've turned it into one of those jokes? A Maori virgin, an English virgin walk into a bar. They say their vows. So this is kind of like 6th of February 1840. They say their vows. They've got all the witnesses. And they say, I do. And then one of my other kaumātua, Wiremu, who's passed on, he actually said, shared with us that for him, this was like a marriage. And he reminded there's no divorce clause. And so that's part of the moving forward, committed to the promises that were made. Okay, treaty technicalities. Two versions, interpretation. So, taking both English and Maori and interpreting it, that's applies to us today and back then as well. So, we're exchanging Kāwanatanga for the protection of our Rangatiratanga. And that's not just my words, that's actually the law. This is a direct reference to the preamble of Te Ture Whenua Māori Land Act 1993. So you can Google that and read it for yourself. So that's where that reference comes from. And so it applies to us, no matter how you want to look at it. Okay, so just to sort of summarize, what does that mean practically for us today? Obviously, the second article is fairly clear. That all taonga, including land, is guaranteed to Māori. Yeah, so that's guaranteed. It's for me, I always like to use the 66 million acres. Put that figure right in front of everybody so we're clear what we're talking about and what land. It's all of it. And why? It's putting the New Zealand company out of business. No more selling our land without our authority and our consent. And what's put in place is to protect us. The protection mechanism is the preemption clause in the second article, where Queen Victoria is the only purchaser of Māori land. So you're taking it to the highest level in the British Empire, and you're appointing someone for a role. And at that time, it's Queen Victoria. Okay, now I'll just jump back to this quickly. It was really interesting. 1066, William the Conqueror, which is actually part of our land tenure law today in Aotearoa. I got that out of the New Zealand land law book. Wanna grab it? The 2017 version. And this is what they quote. So you all know, you have to learn a little bit about King William, obviously, taking over. So how it works, he's got sovereignty 100% and has the title, and only issues crown grants, which are rights and interests, but the king still retains the sovereign title 100%. And here's a few some law relating to this. Māori customary land, it exists before the Crown grant, lies outside the ordinary doctrines of tenure and estates. So you got the second article, the customary title, 66 million acres of land, we can only transfer to the sovereign. That's the legal land transaction process. That's why they put it in place in 1840. And it's also been said that the Crown only has constitutional tenure, described as the radical underlying title. It's only constitutional, nothing to do with the legal interests of the land itself. That's a bit hard to sort of absorb, I know, but it makes sense to me. It's just reinforcing that the taonga still belongs to Māori. And this was said in, So, I don't know if I'll go into that because I'm getting cut down on time. But just if you imagine what 1840 Māori have the taonga, you got a purchaser, so what is the legal process to transfer land? This is part of it. I've just written a few notes down. Survey the land, value it, call a 21-day notice at the marae, the chiefs and the rangatira, pass a resolution in the minutes, extinguishing our whakapapa to the land, which ain't never going to happen. I can tell you that now. But then transfer to the sovereign, declaration in New Zealand Parliament, and then Crown grants are issued. So just a brief on the legal process for land transactions. none of that has actually happened. There's no, I want to challenge you all to find the proof that there has actually been a legal land transaction according to this process. It's not on the record, I can tell you now, so don't waste your time. But might be interesting anyway to look into it for yourself. Okay, what happened? So we got all the taonga, 1840, so what happened? This is where I run out of PowerPoint time, but I put it simple, an oppressive system. So loss of abundance, loss of language, loss of culture, loss of land, loss of resources, loss of dignity. So that's what happened. Now you see all the negative statistics we have today. It's all related to this kaupapa. But there's a way to, we're in that stage now and moving into the future of restoring the mana of te iwi Māori. And you can already see it happening. There's a shift right now. And so, yeah, things are starting to improve dramatically. And it's an exciting time to be Māori. So many positives happening. Just being here for one. Being able to present to you as an audience. But yeah, we also have lots of legislation on our side. The RMA, Heritage New Zealand Act, Conservation Act, New Zealand Local Governance Act, Ture Whenua Māori Land Act, Treaty O Waitangi Act, and the Crown has Te Tiriti O Waitangi is in all of those acts, and the Crown has statutory obligations to honour it. And so it's our job to keep them accountable. And moving forward to the future, 2040, well, we've got some 200-year bicentennials coming up, which is good to celebrate. 2023 next year, Pāhia's 200-year bicentennial in relation to Henry Williams. You're all invited. April next year, 13th and 17th of April 2023. And that'll be the stepping stone towards 2035, 200 years of Māori sovereignty, te whakaputanga, and then the big one, 2040. Yeah, so we've got a bit of work to do, but obviously hopefully we're all on the same page, because what we do today is going to make a difference tomorrow. And so change, transformation, and reconciliation. Hopefully we get there by 2040. I better finish off with that, but kia ora tātou, mihi ana.